Hello, my name is Blossoms and welcome to another Genshin Impact video, and today we've got another not meta build guide, this time on Yoimiya. And for those of you who don't know what we do in the not meta build guides, we build characters that aren't necessarily optimal, but might provide a fun or different playstyle for the character that you might want to try out for yourself. And today we're going to be going over a Thundering Fury Yoimiya, trying to reduce that cooldown as much as we can, and focusing on Overload, which is a reaction a lot of people don't do, and Yoimiya has always been pretty good at Overload, but having that Thundering Fury there to get the uptime on your E to be a little bit better is pretty interesting, so that's what we're going to be trying to do today. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the guide. The biggest inspiration behind making this build is mostly because her E-skill has an 8-second cooldown time, and usually in that cooldown time, I take advantage of my supports, I activate whatever I need to activate with them, and I come back to Yoimiya and then you recast her E, but sometimes I go through the supports too fast, so having even a couple more seconds shaved off of her E-skill is going to allow you to effectively use this 100% of the time, even if it doesn't, reset her cooldown entirely. Being able to swap to your supports and then guaranteed have this available is going to be very, very nice. And the way that we're actually going to be pairing her with teammates is going to accentuate this even further and help her get her burst as fast as possible. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting and fun to use just in general. So let's go ahead and get into the actual artifacts. Alright, so as I mentioned before, we are going to be using the 4-piece Thundering Fury, and of course the 2-piece set bonus on her is entirely useless, admittedly, but the 4-piece here is very interesting. It not only increases the damage caused by your Overload, Electrocharge, and Superconduct by 40%, so for Yoimiya, basically just your Overload, but triggering such effects decreases the elemental skill cooldown by 1 second, and that can only occur every 0.8 seconds. And the thing is here, usually between you and your supports, it's kind of a toss-up who's going to actually be proccing the reaction. But it still will happen a few times throughout your E-skill, so it is likely that you are going to at least be shaving off 3 to 4 seconds, which is not entirely the cooldown timer that you have for your Yoimiya, but it is enough for when you swap through your supports that you are guaranteed going to have that E-skill up to rotate back to, and that has been very nice. Not to mention you get the 40%. You also get that 40% on the Crimson Witch set, I'm pretty sure, as well. Yeah, you do for your Overload. So it's not like you're losing that part of your Crimson Witch, you're just losing the extra 15 Pyro and the extra 7.5% Pyro there on the later end of its set bonus. So that does sting a little bit, and you are definitely losing damage in that way, but the sheer quality of life you get from getting a little bit less cooldown on your E-skill is very nice. So how are we building this? Well, we're building it the same way that we typically build Yoimiya. We're just going to have attack percent, pyro damage bonus, and then crit rate or crit damage, whichever is going to suit you the best. And I will admit here, my Thundering Fury pieces here are not very good. I've been trying to get a pretty good set on it, and I just can't. So that's been unfortunate for me, but we'll make it work regardless. I'm probably going to be eating some crit rate food just to show you guys the kind of potential of a decent set, but overall these aren't too bad. And for the substats you're going to be looking for them are going to be crit rate and crit damage, of course. Attack percent, always nice, and energy recharge is going to be fantastic. However, not nearly as important as it usually is on Yoimiya because of how we're going to be pairing her. We're mostly going to be pairing her with some Electro characters, and the Electro Resonance definitely helps her get her burst back a lot faster than she would otherwise. So energy recharge isn't as important, but still very valuable. Mostly crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, energy recharge are going to be your primary focuses. Of course, elemental mastery isn't going to be bad, especially for this one, just because it is going to be focused around Overload, and Overload does love its elemental mastery. So that is something you're going to be looking for as well. I would even put it above attack percent and energy recharge in my opinion, just because Overload does like its elemental mastery that much, but it's still below crit rate and crit damage as it typically would be. As for the weapons of this, we're just going to be using Rust. I have an R5 Rust, and this is just one of the best Yoimiya weapons for her in general, period. You could also use things like Amos Bow. There's nothing really wrong with that. I did try to mess around with something like the Elegy of the End for Yoimiya, and I'm not a huge fan of it, but you can kind of make it work. And if you want to see a build revolving around trying to make this work on Yoimiya, let me know in the comment section below, as I would be more than happy to provide it. But overall, things like Rust are still going to be your best bet for Yoimiya. Of course, Hamayumi works in a pinch, or if you're just F2P or something, then Hamayumi's a fantastic option as well, but of course Rust is just going to be better overall. All right, so briefly going over the attributes of my Yoimiya here, we do have her at 1700 attack, which is a bit lower than my usual build just because my artifacts aren't that good. 37 elemental mastery, which should be higher. Crit rate at 39 and crit damage at 120-ish right here, and 157% energy recharge, which is actually very nice. It gets her elemental burst pretty consistently, and a pyro damage bonus here of 46. Of course, crit rate, crit damage, and elemental mastery all need to be buffed up, as well as attack percent here for this to be a lot better, but you'll still see that this deals some solid damage. We're going to be pitting her against Masanori. We're going to be using Zhongli just for a shield, so I don't have to worry about dodging as much. Fischl and Beto as well for our two electro characters are going to be helping us deal some overload. Now, I will say I do think this build is relatively reliant on Fischl just because her C6 here does follow your normal attacks wherever you go to deal that electro damage, which is very nice for getting that elemental reaction to make sure you're getting that E skill cooldown reduction. Beto's also fantastic for this, but I do want to note that neither of these characters are entirely necessary for this to work. I did it plenty with other characters like Raiden Shogun, but yeah, we have both of these girls here at C6. Beto's constellations don't really matter to get the E skill cooldown reduction, but I think Fischl, her C6 here, does make this a bit more consistent. However, it is not entirely necessary. I did it without Fischl as well, but mostly you're just going to have an electro character that's going to be able to attack alongside Yoimiya, and sometimes they're going to be the ones proccing the reactions, and sometimes Yoimiya is going to be the one proccing reactions, but most of the time you're going to be getting a few procs there and enough procs to ensure that you have your E skill off of cooldown whenever you need it. All right, so let's go ahead and fight Masanori here, and you'll see just how strong this is, and we'll go ahead and get Zhongli's shield, get Fischl going, and we'll get Beto's Q as well, and then we'll go ahead and pop off with Yoimiya, and you'll see that we deal pretty solid damage. Getting her Q there as well helps, and you'll notice in the bottom right there the E skill is ready basically as soon as we needed it, but we can go ahead and, you know, reproc our allies here and just basically also get her Q off of cooldown, which is really nice. This is one of the biggest thing I like about Overload Yoimiya, with being able to get your elemental burst as quick as possible, and then the Thundering Fury allows you to just have your E skill whenever you need it. In fact, you get your E skill a little bit too quick because you just forget to swap to your support sometimes, like I just did, but overall still a fantastic option. And you can see how this team can really rock in a single target scenario. Beto does help with the crowd control as well, but you see this still deals plenty of damage, and the nice E skill cooldown reduction is very good. And when you get two electro teammates, you get your elemental skill, elemental burst off cooldown as well, but you can do that with a normal Yoimiya. So we mostly wanted to focus around the fact that you get your E skill so quick. Anyway, this is a bit of a quicker video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys like Yoimiya and you want to build her in that way as well, then hopefully this helped you out to do so, to see exactly how strong it was in case you were afraid of slapping those artifacts on her. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. My name's Blossums, and I'll catch you later. Peace.